Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It is Monday, it is Chelsea news time. The transfer window is getting exciting. There's no more news to be discussed about what ifs. Will we spend money? It's getting serious now. There are transfers that look to be on the verge of maybe even being completed this week. So, if you are not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, the George Benson football channel, be sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications so that as the news breaks, you get to hear my opinion, we get to discuss it together in the comments down below, and we should be getting excited at this point. Today, we're going to talk Ousmane Dembele. We're going to talk developments with PSG looking for wingers and supposedly finding one, which leaves the door open for Chelsea. We're going to talk PULISIC to Liverpool again, which, although the last video did excite some of you with conversation about Salah, Pulisic, swaps, a bit ambiguous, a bit out of the genuine equation of probability, but still, a relatively interesting chat was had by you guys in the comments below. We're also going to talk about a man who, I won't lie, I don't know too much about, and we might start with that story here today. Cody Gakpo, who is wanted by Arsenal. Chelsea are also in the race for the player. He's a left winger from PSV Eindhoven. Immediately here, I want to bring up a comparison. Hakim Ziyech from Ajax. Ajax, biggest club in the Netherlands. Semi-finalists of Champions Leagues, only losing somehow to Tottenham Hotspur, not making a final against Liverpool a few seasons ago. Hakim Ziyech, arguably one of their best players. Chelsea bring him in. Not necessarily been a disaster, not necessarily been a failure, but as transitions go from Eredivisie, the Dutch league, into the quality and intensity of the Premier League, many can argue that it's not quite been as emphatic of a Chelsea signing as it once could have been. Cody Gakpo, what makes this interesting is £30 million. Well, first of all, 30 million is still a big sum of money, but 30 million in the grander context of £200 million budget, we're talking 15% of that budget, and there are also Chelsea players who we're also talking about today who could well be sold to make way for another winger. If there is a winger coming into Chelsea, it is absolutely not even a question that there will at least be one winger leaving Chelsea. We'll talk about Pulisic and a potential exit there in a moment. The interesting thing about Gakpo is, even though I've got my reservations about is this the kind of signing that elevates Chelsea immediately, which is clearly what we need to do to bridge the gap between Man City and Liverpool. Throughout this whole summer, when we're talking transfers, when we're talking the right deal, the wrong deal, the questions about deals, a lot of what I say and the way that I see things is going to come from, are Chelsea making the right moves for right now so that next season we bridge that gap, we challenge a lot closer. The interesting thing about Gakpo is that he can not only play on the left wing, but both Arsenal and Chelsea, with their interest in the player, are considering him as a potential left wing back. This is great news for Chelsea because in the last few days we've heard that Thomas Tuchel wants to bring Emerson back to the club as a backup, as Marcos Alonso is wanted again in Spain. We have seen moves for Alonso pretty much every single summer, and amongst our fan base there's always been a diverse split in the opinion of Marcos Alonso. Is he really good enough? Then he'll go and score a winning goal, or he'll go and score a goal in Madrid that just should have counted, really, but it didn't. But we move away from these kind of things. Gakpo as an option, left wing back. If this is the plan, then it is quite exciting indeed. But of course, 30 million, it's not massive, but it's also quite a significant sum of money where it could make a dent in potential other big money moves that immediately bring in a player who is far more needed in a position where we immediately need to strengthen. So, let me know your thoughts on Cody Gakpo in the comments down below. Not going to sit here and fabricate a lie to you guys that I have seen a lot of him play, but from the immediate early comparisons with Eredivisie moves for players, he's a very promising youngster, but for me, I still think there are other positions across the field that we need to lock down first, but Chelsea are interested in the player. We move into the next story, which is that Jurgen Klopp wants Christian Pulisic to replace Sadio Mane at Liverpool. Now, if we remove all of the hypotheticals that we discussed in the previous video on the channel regarding Could Salah end up at Chelsea and Jurgen Klopp gets a man that he's always admired in Pulisic at Liverpool? It is a bit far-fetched, and it is probably something that would have had to have been explored next summer because Salah still has one more year on his Liverpool deal, and I don't think Chelsea are going to be willing to cough up the kind of money that bringing Salah in this summer would have. However, Jurgen Klopp has always been a long-term admirer, and there are lots of reports coming out now from strong sources, particularly from Germany, that Liverpool do see Christian Pulisic as an ideal immediate replacement for Sadio Mane. There are a couple of things here that concern me. One of them is that Liverpool really do need to replace Sadio Mane. Luis Diaz was brought in to facilitate multiple options with multiple different dynamic tactical approaches that Klopp could integrate. Liverpool were 2 games away from winning a quadruple this season. So anybody who questions Jurgen Klopp and what he wants, the chances are, even if Liverpool don't have the same expenditure structure of a Manchester City who can just go and throw cash out, a Real Madrid who, even if they might not necessarily have access to all of the cash within FFP or PSG, they can just go and do it, whatever they really want to do. Liverpool, when it comes to transfer business, in this moment in time, there are a lot of questions about how they can organically maintain a quality squad by bringing in immediate replacements for players who have Premier League quality, who have that lack of it could not work. I think with Pulisic playing at Liverpool, if I think about what I like about this, and I'll tell you straight away, I don't want to see Christian Pulisic leave Chelsea for a start. I do think he is still one of those players where, although there is a long list of wingers who have clearly got talent, but does Tuchel really rate any of them directly to be the first choice? Has Christian Pulisic been consistent enough for us to really believe that he's the number 1 first choice at the club? No. But the ceiling of potential for this guy is massive. And I think if Liverpool would have taken from Chelsea, to bring it back to story number 1, Cody Gakpo coming in for 30 million from PSV, and then if Pulisic goes to Liverpool, I just feel as though we're slipping further away from Liverpool with that kind of business. We'll talk about Ousmane Dembele in a moment because this one is exciting. This one seems to be moving in a direction where Chelsea are now the favourites. PSG look like they're going to be signing Ocampos, and that really does open the door for PSG being out of the race. Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel, long-term admirer, Dembele to come to Chelsea. But to wrap it up about Christian Pulisic, Liverpool want him. There have been a lot of quotes from Pulisic about obviously loving it at Chelsea, but also being frustrated with not getting picked every week, with not being able to cement that regular place in the starting 11. And at Liverpool, again, if we think about this, Salah stays this year. You've got Salah, you've got Jota, you've got Firmino, you've got Diaz, who is going to be a wonderful player for them next season. I've got no doubts. He's just got to add goals and assists to an already brilliant all-round game, which he will do in a team with that kind of quality around him. Christian Pulisic, if he goes to Liverpool, could it just be another similar scenario at Chelsea? He's part of a great team, but is he going to be able to actually go in there and take Mane's place with all of that quality still competing around him? I'm not entirely sure, but this one could happen. We move into Dembele. Ousmane Dembele is reportedly close to agreeing a deal with Chelsea Football Club. There are many reasons why this Dembele deal makes sense. First of all, free transfer. Yes, on the financial side of that, you're going to have big wages to deal with. You're probably also going to have a bit of a I want to be playing every single week kind of thing. But to counter all of that, it's a player that Thomas Tuchel has worked with before, got the best out of before, and Thomas Tuchel wants the player, which coincides with everything we've been saying in recent weeks, that Todd Boehly's first important thing to do is not only spend the money to improve this squad, but to be going for players that aren't necessarily just big name Chelsea brand signings from the board, but players that the brilliant manager that we have actually wants in his team. So similar to that with the Cody Gakpo story, if Chelsea are going to bring in a winger, we can guarantee that somebody is going to leave. As we wrap up this news video here today, if we're taking all 3 of the main stories we've spoken about, Pulisic might leave, Dembele coming in, injury-prone player goes out, injury-prone player comes in. You could even argue that it is a coin flip as to whether or not Chelsea would benefit from this. Let me know in the comments down below. I know there are a lot of hardcore Pulisic fans, and I know, myself included, a lot of people that really think Dembele could be an excellent player. I remember being in the Nou Camp where we were battered in the Champions League in 2018, and it was probably one of his best games in a Barcelona shirt. Dembele in, Pulisic out. What do you guys think about this one? For me, it's a total 50-50. Both brilliantly talented players, both massive potentials. Dembele on a free. We get money in for Christian Pulisic. Frees up more, keep strengthening elsewhere. Gonna leave that one with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching today. The Chelsea tier list video from last season is pending. I've actually been collaborating with a brand on that video, so I'm just waiting for approval. It's been a bank holiday in the weekend over in the UK, so I'm just waiting to get that one out. It could be later today, could also be tomorrow or the next day. If not, if there are new stories that keep breaking, the transfer window is open, Chelsea are moving, there could always be another video on any given day right now. My mum is here in Bali visiting me. I've not seen her for 2.5 years, so the reason there's not been videos every day is because I've been busy enjoying time with my mother, who I haven't seen for so long. She's getting older. Got to enjoy this quality time, but stay tuned for the channel. Make sure bell notifications are on so that you don't miss anything. Come on, you Blues.